The Market, a high-end San Francisco grocery store in the former Twitter building, is closing after crime and plunging sales. And by plunging sales, I mean sales that went from $60,000 a day down to $2,200. Oof. Let's get into it. Here we go. So the doom loop in San Francisco, it is continuing to roll. I mean, this is never ending. And you know what? That's what happens when you allow a bunch of whacked out nut jobs on drugs to just roam throughout your city and live wherever. Give them shelter and then allow them to live in a tent and do their drugs as well. I mean, this is what happens. The Market, a high-end grocery store inside the former X headquarters in San Francisco's mid-market, announced it planned to close the store this week after more than a decade in business. The upscale grocery store at 1355 Market Street. Let's take a look at that on the map. Google Maps oftentimes now just doesn't have the Tenderloin. Let's zoom out one or two more times. No, it's just not on there. If you don't indicate the name of the neighborhood, maybe it'll go away. So here we are. Yeah, Tenderloin being right here. Union Square, our famous shopping area. This is no surprise. I mean, you've got the X taken off. You got Twitter just scooting out of town because of this nonsense. So they were the anchor tenant in that building. And when they said, we're out of here because of all the ridiculousness, and Elon Musk literally moved their headquarters out, right? So this grocery store that was left, the Market opened in 2015 on the ground floor of what was then the Twitter building, alongside a food hall that later expanded. The food hall portion will stay open with around a half a dozen vendors. That should work out nicely, said owner Chris Foley. Not Farley, Foley. Grocery sales plunged from around $60,000 per day in 2019 to $2,300 per day, making the store unsustainable. That is incredible. 60K down to 2,300. Even before X departure from the building last year, foot traffic was anemic. Another great word. How's your business? Anemic. And people frequently stole groceries, adding to the store's challenges. He added, the city during COVID and after basically let the meth addicts and homeless take over, he said. There's some honesty. That's what's happened, right? You had the whole COVID deal, and then all the remote working took place. You've got the financial district absolutely hollowed out in San Francisco, 40% vacancy rate. I mean, some of the numbers we're seeing on commercial buildings in San Francisco right now are just like, woof. If you're a commercial real estate guy, you're like, wow, that is a bargain. But you got to have tenants in order to be able to justify those higher prices. Those tenants just aren't there right now. Though crime has dropped citywide in the past year, remote work has continued to be a daunting challenge, he said. You don't have enough employees walking around at lunchtime, walking around on the mid-morning break. Hey, let's go in here. Let's go. I need to get creamer for coffee tomorrow morning before I come into work, because they're not coming into work. They don't need creamer. They're getting creamer from their grocery store in suburbia, wherever that might be, right? The city feels better, Foley said, but he believes without broader return to work mandates, small businesses will continue to be bludgeoned to death. So that is one whole side of the equation, the remote work. That's why you've got federal workers. You're going to come into the office. You've got Amazon. You're in the office 5 days a week. Microsoft. I mean, just the list goes on and on. Everybody's changing their policies, right? And a lot of that has to do with leadership is like, okay, we're located in these areas. And in order to clean up these areas, we need to get some more money flowing in there. Need to have consumers buy stuff, right? A nearby Whole Foods at 8th and Market Streets also shuttered in 2023. Remember that one? It was open for just boop and then closed, citing safety concerns. One of my favorite words. I have concerns about what's going on. I have concerns people are overdosing in the restroom at Whole Foods. I have concerns that prostitution is taking place in the restrooms. And those were absolutely things that happened in the 8th and Market Whole Foods. Check this out. this came up in my in just my research. I typed in the market in San Fran closes. This is what came up. Bayside Market to close amid crime, September 2024. Decades-old San Francisco market closes due to crime. Same thing. Bloomingdale's flagship San Francisco store closes a month ago, 3 weeks ago. San Francisco's Fillmore District Safeway closes. San Francisco Flower Mart holds final day of business before a move to anywhere other than San Francisco. San Francisco Market Street Bloomingdale's is closing. Fillmore District Safeway. Grocery stores are suddenly closing in San Francisco. I mean, this is an ongoing just deal. Here we are. Yeah, here we are. Yours truly right here. Number what? About 8 down on the list. San Francisco family-owned market shuts down after 35 years. And this is all within the last month or so, last few months. Prior to that, you've had just a ton of businesses go bye-bye. This one's a good title here. Same story. Losing $1 gazillion, Twitter headquarters, grocery shuts. In this article, this is Kevin Trong from the San Francisco Standard. He's always got good reporting. The landlord did nothing but support us, but we finally looked at what was happening, and we were losing $1 gazillion every month and made a decision. The decision was close her down, move out of the area, maybe don't come back. I mean, writing is on the wall for all these businesses. They aren't coming back anytime soon. They're going to sign a lease if they open up elsewhere, if they're still viable. They're going to sign a lease elsewhere, and they're not going to be in this location. It's just inevitable. He goes on to say that Mayor Breed allowed meth addicts and homeless to take over the streets, and it didn't seem that her administration really cared. And I'm sorry to say that, Foley said. He also directed his ire at remote work, which hollowed out downtown office buildings. So you've got a double whammy. You've got a situation where basically all the folks who occupy the office buildings aren't there. And then what few are there are targets for the homeless populations that are just whacked out of their mind on drugs, defecate on the sidewalk. You know the drill. I mean, just drugs. And at one time it was hypodermic needles everywhere. Now it's just tin foil because they're smoking fetty. Breed's administration organized what it called a drug market agency coordination center near the Civic Center that was operated by city and federal agencies and meant to tamp down on drug sales and open substance use in the surrounding area. Daily sales at the market plummeted from 60K to 2,200. All right. This is a family show, and we don't often use profanity, but sometimes you have to do it because it's a quote, and, you don't want to misquote somebody, kind of like CBS did with Kamala Harris's interview. Remember that one? Yeah, they're going to go to arbitration on that. Trump sued for $10 billion and then upped it when Paramount was added to the lawsuit because Paramount's trying to, do a little sale of assets. They're going to settle for literally the hundreds of millions on that one because they literally did what we're talking about, which is we're going to read the quote exactly as it is. Nobody gave a Foley said. That's brutal honesty. That's some honesty there. Adding that their groceries hot bar was forced to close. Get this. After too many people came off the street and used their hands to dig into items from the steam pans. I'm going to read that again. Adding that the groceries hot bar was forced to close after too many people came off the street and used their hands to dig out items from the steam pans. That is just disgusting. Could you imagine? I mean, a lot of these folks don't wash their hands. Yeah, they're lighting up. They're doing crazy stuff. They're living in a tent. Hygiene isn't a big thing. They're just, living the life of drugs. And they're not known to be hygienic. They're just not. Their hands are all black from residue from the stuff they're smoking. And then they come in and just, bear style claw into whatever food containers out there. And then they got to dump all that. Do you imagine working in that kind of environment? No. And that's why the market is saying, we're done. We're done. Add the market to a growing list of businesses in the area that have closed in recent years. We've got Huckleberry Bikes, Little John's Candies, Whole Foods. Around 15 people work at the market. They're all done. Here's the commercial numbers I'm talking about. In a sign of the times and the way real estate values have collapsed in the neighborhood, a nearby 16-story office building sold at a foreclosure auction for $6.5 million, a pittance compared with the $62 million it sold for in 2016. 62 to 6? Whew. I mean, incredible numbers. Incredible numbers. You're losing 90% of your value. Right off the top, right? Foley is working on a few projects in San Francisco, including a 20-unit condo building. As a developer, he says it pays to be optimistic. It's going to get better, Foley said. San Francisco still has Silicon Valley, Tahoe, Santa Cruz, the Bay, and the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's going to take a while, especially for mid-market. This is the area that everybody has left. It has just absolutely hollowed out, right? So that's San Francisco. That is San Francisco. So contrast San Francisco, which is just, they've got a new mayor, but these are people. These are whacked out homeless people on drugs that just are allowed to kind of do whatever the F they want. And they've taken over the city. And now you've got a situation where you just got to deal with them. So they're already there. They're already in. What do we do with them? Don't really know. You got three options. You either throw them in jail. They commit a crime. Okay. This is San Francisco we're talking about. That's not going to happen. You put them in mandatory treatment. No, we're not doing that. That's not happening. I mean, this is San Francisco again. Or you put them in a psych ward because they're crazy, because the drugs have either made them just absolutely whacked out of their mind, or they were crazy to begin with and they need help. These are human beings that need help. And what is San Francisco? It's live wherever you want. It's all good. Hey, good luck out there. And then look at how it impacts the businesses. So this has already happened. Look at what Oklahoma is doing. This is Oklahoma. This is the polar opposite, right? This is opposites day here. Bill requiring homeless shelters to be 3,000 feet from schools, which originally banned them, passes the committee. Republicans in Oklahoma are like, yeah, we don't want our children around the whacked out homeless nut jobs. We don't want that. Yeah, strange, right? And in San Francisco, be whatever sex you want, do whatever you want. Homeless people by schools, not a problem. I mean, just anything goes. It's all good. It's all just a free-for-all. Why are the businesses all leaving? Why is that store's revenue down by almost 100%? Why is that? Because nobody wants to shop in the store. People don't want to go there. They don't want to be that guy that gets accosted by the whacked out homeless nut job. My cousin Tyler this morning sent me a photo of police action at a grocery store here in Bellevue. And they were interviewing a possibly homeless individual that looked like they weren't in full capacity of their, emotions and physical capability. They're on drugs. They're whacked out, right? They're whacked out. This is normal. This is normal. So Oklahoma says, first of all, their first go around is ban all homeless shelters. Ban them all. Just ban them all. All right. We're going to work that backwards. We got to have a couple here and there. All right. 3,000 feet from schools, over a half a mile away from schools is where your homeless shelters need to be. As far physically as you can probably dictate half a mile, that's pretty far. So, you've got these standards where Democrats in these big blue liberal run cities they've just allowed this to overwhelm them, and they're stuck with that issue unless you go back to those three, options: jail, psych ward, treatment. That's what you got. Whereas Oklahoma is saying, no, we don't want homeless shelters because if you build it, they will come. All right, here's what one of the politicians said about the reasoning behind over a half mile away, keep the shelters away from a half mile away from children. She also said, it's like giving a bird a breadcrumb. Turn around and you've got a whole flock behind you when speaking about the homeless population. So you can see the extremes between what San Francisco, arguably the most liberal of big blue cities in the United States, versus Oklahoma, arguably one of the most red states in the United States. 77 out of 77 counties in the last presidential election voted red. I mean, it doesn't get much redder than that. I think my stats are correct on that. But it's because they've got an attitude of, hey, we want to protect our children first and foremost. And they basically said, no homeless encampments. Build it and they will come. That is the theory. San Francisco has built it and they came. Portland built it and they came. Seattle built it and they came. How's that working out for them? Oh, good Lord. And now they are going to be spending billions and billions and billions of your taxpayers' dollars on all those programs. Who wants that? What state wants that? Well, these big liberal bastions do. They're like, this is the greatest thing ever. We're helping our fellow human being. And then they can't understand why businesses are closing down. And let's just blame it on remote work. Does that guy have a sword? Guy has no pants on and a sword, and he's screaming at the clouds. Anyway, you know what I mean? It's classic misguided common sense. There's no common sense in this. It's like, what did you think would happen? If you tell people, hey, we're going to decriminalize drugs, you can live wherever the F you want, tent on the sidewalk, no problem. Decriminalize so many of the crimes, just take them from felony, make them misdemeanors. Oh, good Lord. And then the whole breadcrumb thing, you give out all kinds of stuff and they will come. Build it and they will come. And they have. You know where they're not going? Oklahoma. You know why? Because Oklahoma doesn't have program after program after program for these people to take advantage of. Now, you've also got some issues like weather. Oklahoma, I mean, it gets cold there, right? Wind chill factor -0. I mean, under 0, last couple of weeks. That's happened where San Francisco, kind of like Seattle, we get snow every now and then, but it barely hits 20 degrees. I mean, that's very rare for us. So much, much easier to live on the West Coast because you've got an affordability factor of you've got all kinds of money being spent on the homelessness, whereas in Oklahoma, you got nothing. They don't want them at all, and they won't have to pay for them as a result. You've got some Democrats in Oklahoma who are, bleeding heart liberals, but they do not have much of a say. And of the homeless encampments I've looked at Oklahoma City. I understand, there's virtually zero homelessness in Oklahoma City. Virtually zero. There's virtually zero graffiti. There's virtually zero garbage. I mean, it is literally night and day. San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, just leave your garbage wherever. Somebody else will pick it up. Taxpayer dollar. And you're left with this notion of, okay, all right, yep, Seattle's got cool stuff. Portland's got cool stuff. Oklahoma doesn't have as much cool stuff, but they also have a quality of life where they put children's safety well above this misguided notion that people should be allowed to live in a tent, steal from the community, spend money on drugs and not work, and have it all funded by the taxpayer. Yeah. Night and day, right? So where you want to live? It's the question, right? It's a question of the hour. Where do you want to live? What do you want to be subjected to? What do you want to subject your children to? Yeah, choices. All got choices. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.